Mengra Talks.
So the first question goes to all of you. Of course, we start with Almasa from Revolt. And of course, the question is, what is the organization? What is the last 6 months of your work, where it goes? What are the problems you see, or you want to, or the issues you want to share with us and with people who are here?
First of all, thank you for having us. I hope that we are going to have a very fruitful discussion. So when it comes to the youth movement Revolt, we are primarily a youth movement or organization that advocates for positive changes in society through action. Why through action? We are famous, let's say, for our street actions and this part when we communicate with the public and the citizens, primarily in Tuzla, but in the whole Bosnia and Herzegovina, to get to know their problems and to know how to respond to those problems. Also, it is important to mention that our organization gathers and organizes young people in the fight against injustice, let's say poverty, violence, corruption, discrimination, irresponsible politicians, of course, and negative authorities. Let's say that our vision is Bosnia and Herzegovina as a society in which all people have the same rights and the same space to react and to say what their problems are. When it comes to the period in the last 6 months, let's say that we were focused on the period that we are facing very soon, and that means general elections. We wanted to motivate as many young people as possible to get to know the political processes and to get to know and what is more important, to understand the complex political system of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we have organized let's say four small schools of political activism through which we wanted to motivate young people and to show them the mechanisms they can use to, let's say, to do something in their communities, primarily local communities, because we are an organization that, let's say, work on primarily on the local level, and then of course, there needs to be a cooperation with the upper levels. So we have traveled to firstly Brčko, then Banja Luka, Tuzla, and Trebinje. All these cities because we wanted to get to know many people that are active in their communities, but maybe they have less opportunities to react because their communities are more, let's say, more. They do not want to get young people to get hurt. So let's say that the School of Political Activism is something that started in the previous election period when we had local elections, and we gathered around 20 people. Some of them were active in their communities, some of them were candidates for the local elections, and all of them have had the opportunity to learn more about socioeconomic system. Then let's say they had the opportunity to let's say, to get to know how the city council works, because we have a simulation of their work. And yeah, this year was the great opportunity to get to do something similar, but we focused more on the general elections and on the higher levels of political system, of our political system. What we also have done in the previous period is that we had organized many street actions. One that I want to highlight is when politicians increase their salaries by 500 kms, I believe. We printed their photos and hang them on the famous promenade in Tuzla, thus creating a wall of shame, let's say. I think
Okay, sorry. And what is how is the response from young people? What is how the people are responding? Like in Brčko, when you look at Tuzla, when you go, what is the number of young people who are involved?
Well, there were involved 15 people per city. So yeah, that's the approximately 15 of them. Yeah.
And one more question: the organization, like it's like an NGO that are like also local NGOs in Brčko and Banja Luka and Tuzla and Trebinje, and they organize the groups, and then you are making network, or how this functioning?
Yeah, we have created the, let's say, network between the local organizations that participated in those areas, and they helped us to motivate, let's say, to motivate young people to participate in our programs.
What would you say is the expectation of young people like you and other revolt members of the elections? What do they expect?
Well, we still hope that there is something that will lead us to some, let's say, better situation. However, I want to stress out that today we planned to organize a public hearing with the young candidates from all the parties, political parties that participated in the Tuzla canton, to present their programs to other young people and other citizens of Tuzla as well. However, they did not show up. And some of them were like, oh, we are interested to participate in the public hearing. And then just this morning, they just canceled. And we ended up with the public and a moderator, and then we just commented on that situation and the feeling that was created within this situation, because young people, there were many young people in the public, and they wanted to hear what the other young people that are candidates on the lists want, what they have to let's say to propose during the 4 years of the mandate, but they just canceled. And let's say that other young people that showed up were very angry, upset, and sad, and I don't know how to name the feelings that were dominant this morning.
Thank you, Mas. I think it's a really good cue, because we talk about responsibility, and I think Dario can tell us a bit more about his work and actually with of course with the istinomjer, with the fact checking and this responsibility we always have a lack of. Maybe can Dario also tell us something about his work, and yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm glad to be here. Of course, I'll be more glad to be in Munich live than to talk to you through the Zoom platform. Yes, because it's a probably better situation there. Yeah, let's stop joking. I'm coming from a civic association, Why Not, Zašto ne, in Bosnian language, and we are a prominent organization. I'm working here. I'm with Zašto ne for 10 years now. And last few years, I'm in position of editor-in-chief of first Bosnian fact-checking platform, Truth-meter. It's actually fact-checking, political fact-checking platform that fact-checking politicians every day. Let's be strict. Yeah, last 6 months, it was very, very turbulent period for us because we are like for last 10 years or almost 14 years now, we are dealing with pre-election promises of political parties in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we already published our results of monitoring of last mandate of governments on a state level, let's say level of Republic of Srpska. We didn't done the level of Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina because it was like very interesting situation, because it was the first time that we had one entity level of government in technical mandate for a whole mandate, let's say. So the government which was elected or nominated in 2015 in Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina are still in power. So we had ministers, and we also had a lack of ministers in this position of government. In this constitution of government, actually, we had a lack of 3 ministers during the mandate, and it was actually government in federation in one part of Bosnia, to be strict. I don't know who's the public and how many people understand what is the constitution of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and which is the it is very complicated system, political system, that we have like 14 governments in the country, actually. Well, let's say politicians in the last 4 years didn't done almost nothing. Let's say on the state level of government, it was like 3% of fulfilled pre-election promises in total. So it was actually in numbers, let's say it was 6 promises that were actually fulfilled out of 150. I think it was that kind of number. So it was maybe the last 4 years were the worst period for a state level of government in Bosnia and Herzegovina ever after the 1996, or after the war, actually, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So now it's a campaign, and we are fact-checking every day. So I don't know how to describe to people who are the public there, but campaigns in Bosnia and Herzegovina are very complex. We have like a really, really complex political system. We have so many parties. We don't have a strict division on the left, far left, let's say left or right. We don't have we cannot have a bias of a party. So in Bosnia, I don't know, worst nationalistic parties in the country are actually named as social democrats. If you named it that it's Milorad Dodik and Society of I don't know what was the name, Savez nezavisnih socijaldemokrata, Independent Social Democrats of Republic of Srpska, but they are having a worst nationalistic rhetoric that you can hear in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also otherwise you have a strict social democrat party here, which is like comparing to SPD in Germany, for example. Their social program and the social program of some nationalistic parties are not so much different. In Bosnia, everyone's I don't know, they want to say they will increase the employed persons in Bosnia and Herzegovina. They will, I don't know, build a highway, but everything is like very slow, and everything is, every day I'm facing with the politicians who are lying to the people, and we are trying as much as possible to be like objective, to be guys who are trying to put in focus some kind of everyday lies that they are telling every day. So for us as a fact-checking platform, it's not a problem to fact-check same statement every day because it's a lie. So some people that are public will say, oh, you are writing again and again about same things. But in Bosnia, you know, it's important to tell that as much as you can possible. I don't know. I can speak.
I just ask you one more question, and then we go with Adi. Like, because everything you say, there's a like really big let's say, or what I feel, yeah, it's like a negative. It's always a negative result of everything what you're working. Let's say, where it comes the motivation, and how many people you are, and where it comes the motivation to keep doing this. And also, I know that there is always a big problem that that people in media, and especially you, when you are fact checking, you get also hate comments or things. So how you keep
well, we are trying to.
Where is your son?
Yeah, we are trying to be as much as objective that we can. You know, when we are writing about one politician, for example, if we are writing something negative about Bakir Izetbegovic, some supporters of SDA, the party that Izetbegovic is the leader of, will told us on our articles on Facebook pages, because we are mostly reaching our public through social media. In comments, you will see, oh, you are working for opposition. But if we are writing something about negative about opposition, we are working for Bakir Izetbegovic. So that's the how to say sign that we are doing a good job, because all the time we are you know, we are working for somebody who's opposite to a person that we are writing about it. So, you know, but motivation is...
The enemy number one.
Well, yeah, all the time. But yeah, we don't have so many big reach as some major media in Bosnia and Herzegovina, for example, namely Avaz, or some TV stations, or we are not a big media, but we are, let's say, last few years, I can see that we are impactful, that we are, you know, that a lot of other media taking our fact checks, and they are trying to, you know, write something similar that we are writing. But very, very often I'm facing with a situation, or we are facing with the situation that, you know, in Bosnia, you have also media that are supporters of some political project in a country, let's say. So in that situation, it will be the same, you know, the media outlets that are supporting, I don't know, one candidate, it take your writings and they will, you know, put it on a webpage, on a, I don't know, art, like it will be highlighted on a web page, and they will just change the title and they will just mention that we wrote it, but it will be the same page of article. It is, you know, they are taking it. But you know, motivation, it's, let's get back to that story. It's very hard to say. I'm more than 10 years in this job, so motivation is coming from because of the habits that I don't know what to do in this country except to criticize politicians anymore. You can invite me somewhere in Germany. I can work and criticize your politicians, maybe, if you like. But yeah, the motivation is, you know, motivation is that you are very pissed off every day of a situation in the country, and you are listening to the same lines, and you just want to show people that those people are not okay. I don't want to mention anyone namely, but you know, most of the politicians. But okay, it is a common situation in Bosnia that people say, oh, everyone's are bad. No, everyone's are not bad. Now elections are coming. We need to choose someone who is maybe less worse than someone other. That's it.
Better. Okay, yes. I know that in this round of our talk, the Adi is someone who is also criticizing not only Bosnian but also European politicians. So maybe we move to Adi. Thank you, Dario. It was really But we move, of course, with all these topics.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having me this evening. And I'm also very sad for not being in Munich, but I'm in Berlin. So if my Wi-Fi connection is bad, everyone in the room, I think, will know why that is, because I'm sitting in Berlin. My name is Adi Čerimagić. I come from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I work for a very small European think tank called European Stability Initiative. Think tank basically means that we are privileged or not that privileged, but we're privileged to take time to look at the things that most people, most politicians, most policymakers simply, do during their daytime work time, just do it without thinking too much. So we are privileged to be paid to take time to look at different policies, different positions, different instruments that are being used by the EU and EU member states in the Western Balkans, and to question whether they're used in the best way, how they could be used better, and then to come up with some kind of proposals for policy makers. When you ask me about the past 6 months, I would go to past 7 months. Today is 24th of September, so it's exactly 7 months since the invasion of Russia on Ukraine, and that has been in the focus of the work of the think tank where I am, not just from the perspective of Western Balkans, but from many other perspectives, from the perspective of the migration, from the perspective of what it means for Moldova and some other countries. And we at my think tank, we were not surprised on 25th and 26th February when both High Representative for Foreign Policy of the EU, Josep Borrell, but also Secretary General of NATO, came out and said that they worry that Russian invasion might negatively affect not just Moldova, but also Bosnia and Herzegovina and some other Western Balkan countries, because most of the people, most of the politicians, policymakers who do not deal with Western Balkans think, about Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also about the region as countries that are engaged in the EU, they are in the EU accession process. So how come, geographically far away from Russia, area with 3 countries being part of the NATO, 4 of them negotiating about the EU accession process, how can they be the target of the Russian efforts? For us who come from the region, but also for us who are dealing with the region here in Berlin, but elsewhere in Europe, it was no surprise that that was said, because for years, EU policy towards the region has been failing. EU instruments, but also international instruments used in Bosnia and Herzegovina have been failing. And we were not surprised that Bosnia and Herzegovina was in danger. So in that sense, what we did in the past 6 months was advocating for changes to how the EU wants these countries to join the EU, and same goes for now Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova. But at the same time, taking into account everything that was happening in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the past year, making sure that the public in Germany, but elsewhere in Europe, is aware that Bosnia and Herzegovina is not a failed state. It's not a state that has completely collapsed. Because sometimes we do love to criticize Bosnia and Herzegovina and its politicians, and very often, in the eyes of those who do not know the details, it leads to a cliche conclusion that Bosnia and Herzegovina as a state is impossible, that nothing ever changes in the country, that all the politicians are the same, that the country doesn't deserve to survive. And it leads to very wrong political decisions made not just by EU member states, but also by the EU itself. So in the past 6 to 7 months, those were the 2 main focuses in our work. One was to try to advocate with the EU how to improve the process of bringing these countries closer to the EU. And on the other hand, making sure that for policymakers to know that although Bosnia and Herzegovina has extremely big challenges, although the situation is far, far, far from anyone being satisfied with it, it is not a country that hasn't changed, and it is not a country that is not worth fighting for.
Concerning the political structure of Bosnia and Herzegovina, how could this be changed, to fulfill all the wishes of the people?
Well, if you look at Montenegro or Serbia at the moment, and if you look at Bosnia and Herzegovina and ask citizens, how do they feel when it comes to quality of education, quality of health services, quality of media, quality of politicians that they're representing them, you will not receive too much of a different reactions to that. To great extent, dissatisfaction, the level of dissatisfaction, the quality of education, health service, etc. in Bosnia and Herzegovina is not significantly worse than that in Serbia and Montenegro, which from my point of view begs the question if the source of the problems and of dissatisfaction that exists in Bosnia and Herzegovina is in the structure it has, or is it in the way we approach public policies in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but not just there, but also in Serbia and Montenegro, where, decision on how many doctors, on how many health workers, how many teachers we have is not made on the basis of analysis of how many students we have, what is needed to have a quality education, what is needed to have a good quality of health sector, how big the increase in cancer is, how big of heart-related diseases, but it's made on the basis of one man or two men or three men deciding on how many gynecologists we will have or how many heart doctors we will have. So I think that the discussion on the structure of Bosnia and Herzegovina is, although to many respects important and necessary, to much of the extent is making it's distracting us from the real source of the issues. And I mean, I lived in Bosnia and Herzegovina until I was 18, and then from 2013 to 2017, and in between I lived in Austria, Belgium, and Germany, all three being federal states. And I can tell you, in all federal states I lived, the issue of how decisions are made, where are they being made, and how long it takes everywhere, it was frustrating, from Germany to Austria to Belgium, including Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I think, yes, we need to think about how do we change structures. We need to think of whether the current debate in Bosnia and Herzegovina on how to make it more simple is leading us to there, or is it because it's so emotional, it's so heightened that it's not leading us anywhere, and we need to rethink how we debate it. But at the same time, we need to think, how do we make the current structures more productive, better, and delivering more?
Yeah, when we are talking about structures, I have this feeling. I came 2008 in Germany, yeah, and I was in 2003. There was a Soros Foundation made a local counseling of youth counseling that we organized in the whole region of Bosnia. And there is a lot of programs which we have in international programs which we have in Bosnia. They're already for 30 years there. We have already, I think, over 3 milliards of euros which European Union invested. We have this OHR, also Office of High Representative, which actually has a lot of power in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And there is always this kind of feeling, and now I have it also when I'm here. I have always this feeling, okay, the ball will always be in the court of Bosnian people. It will always be said, they have to do something. We cannot. We will let you to decide where you go. So when we talk about this responsibility, I would like to see, okay, where we can actually also find responsibility in this international structures, which actually are very big in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So on a military level to civil level, to all the programs they have for and one more thing, and I think it's something we maybe go in the circle, and Adi, you can start. I think it's also, for me, what is very significant is that we have progression of nationalism and irresponsibility of the politicians, this blame game, this media we also talk about, which we see it also in America. We see it now also, okay, not so much in Europe, but nationalism is bigger and bigger. There is a lot of populist So how we as people can really find how to say, this possibility to find the politician responsible or the structures which are actually there to do something. I hope I was clear.
To me, yes. May I start by saying that I don't think it is mutually excluding each other that you criticize the local politicians in Bosnia and Herzegovina for being corrupted, for not being educated, for not understanding what public policies are, for not being willing to include different interest groups into decisions on policies. If we talk about the education, education policies are being developed and implemented without inclusion of parents, of students themselves, of economy, of different actors, experts that have a say, and there are many examples of that. That does not exclude, if we also put a light on the responsibility of the foreigners or the international community in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I think only by doing the both, we can actually maybe hope to change something. We at ESI, and me personally, because of the position we are based in Berlin. We have one person working in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are 80 to 70% focused on criticizing the EU and the international community, trying to bring a light to that. And I think if you look at Europe, around Europe, you will see that anywhere outside of the EU 27 member states and those European countries that are part of the EU single market, if you talk about Norway, Iceland, or Switzerland, you will see that the past 3 decades have been war, authoritarianism, clashes, and lack of economic development. Even the countries that at one point started to catch up, like for example, Turkey, have then, because they did not manage to get integrated, have then slided back. So the question for anyone who wants to help Bosnia and Herzegovina outside of Bosnia and Herzegovina is, how do we get Bosnia and Herzegovina inside the EU or inside the EU single market? Will it become, a perfect place? No, look at Croatia, look at Bulgaria, Romania. It will not, but it will not be, Bosnia and Herzegovina of today, and it will not have the trajectory that, Turkey has or that some other countries have. So anyone from outside wanting to help Bosnia and Herzegovina needs to take a look at the bigger picture. To what extent are politicians in Bosnia and Herzegovina worse than that in Serbia or Montenegro today? And to what extent are politicians in Bosnia and Herzegovina worse than those, for example, in North Macedonia? There you would see a much bigger difference. You had a social democratic government in 2017 who was, a result of the citizens going to the street, protesting, changing the government. You had a lot of work on dismantling that captured state. But then what is the result is that the EU has not offered that government any credible path towards integrating in the EU. So if you want to help Bosnia and Herzegovina, you need to say, well, listen, these politicians may be terrible, may be criminal, may be corrupted. But if we look at what we as EU or as foreigners can do for this country to help, there's one major thing. We need to look at how do we bring these countries into the EU, and the other, also in parallel, very important, is all the support for civil society, all the support for non-state engagements in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also other countries. Freedom of press wouldn't survive without organizations like Dalios. You have many other organizations, youth activism and many other aspects would not survive without a foreigner supporting them. So we need that support to continue until we can capture these countries inside the EU, and that is not happening at the moment.
Yeah, I will just add that it is very important that Adi just said that here is very important. We have so many important donors that we couldn't survive actually all those years without them. For example, I don't know, NID that we are supported by, but also some USAID or some other funds, but they are developing also a lot of media work here in Bosnia. But it is very important to stress out and to mention that here Still they are, but they were during all those 30 years from the beginning of war to the war, a lot of international organizations and a lot of international actors here in the region that they were only their own purpose to be here, because they spend a lot of money for nothing also here in Bosnia. I had a lot of meetings with people who are coming just because of a purpose. From European Commission, there are elections here in Bosnia, and we will have some meeting. They will listen to civil society, but they had their own agenda. They just want to fulfill full questions. They had meetings with a few organizations here in Sarajevo, and they said, okay, we went to Banja Luka, we just exchange a few jokes, and that's it. You know, nobody contacted you. You can see any repercussions of it. So we need to talk about the balance, you know, of help of international community, but we also have a lot of foreign impacts here in Bosnia. So you have, for example, if people ask me, is there I don't know, Russian influence in Bosnia? Of course it is through some media, but the huge impact is from Serbia or Croatia. Those influences are much bigger than a Russian influence or a Turkish influence here in the region, and it is all interconnected here. So it is like very complex situation here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. You have, you know, Office of High Representative. We had the Office of High Representative for last, I don't know, 15 years. Nothing happened from that office. And now for last year, you know, from the famous last INSCO's decision about genocide in Srebrenica, and you now had a Christian Schmidt's decision about elections, but technical decisions. So you can see that, but Christian Schmidt is also not independent guy. He's also listening to a lot of foreign impacts, and that it's a lot of lobbying around the Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I'm not sure how much, you know, politicians and establishment now in Bosnia and Herzegovina can answer to that. But it's very complicated, you know. Here in situation, you have, you know, Dodik, Čović, Bakir Izetbegović. Those are like, you know, three men who are completely with different opinions about everything in this country. And it is like, you know, common people listen to them. They have a lot of media space, and then medias will always, you know, you will have them in media every day. So people are under the influence of like nationalistic rhetoric here in Bosnia, and they are facing it every day. And I don't know what is the actually, because I'm talking from Sarajevo right now, and it is like very, very hard to predict what's going to happen now after those elections. You know, that is like really.
Just one question, and we go also with Masa. Maybe can answer from this position of young people, because I have a feeling. For me, it was also like you have this kind of, you have the Human Rights Declaration, you have a Youth Declaration, which is coming from the European Union. You have some kind of let's say declarations which we can look on and say, okay, we want to go there. And then you have this kind of European OHR, like Office of High Representative, which have a possibility also to move towards some things which are going into that direction, let's say. And we don't see that. And I have a feeling that many people and young people, I don't know how it is, but it's a question. I see in Bosnia that motivation is going down, that people are more negative about political engagement, that they want to leave we can talk about brain drain. So a lot of people leave. In the last, I think 2016, it's 500,000 people who left Bosnia. So maybe it's also this, that's why I'm talking about this responsibility, is like where you can find this kind of rule which stays, which you say, okay, I consider that there is a European Union which has this convention, and they will be behind us when we fight for this. And this is like how how you see this, Almasa, in your work, because you have probably this youth convention as something which is your guiding line. So how you feel the like not fulfilling it or not having the, let's say, from my perspective, not enough support from institutions which are in Bosnia from European Union and also international community?
Well, I would say that we have a very, very good low ground for developing other, let's say, documents in regulating our work, either being the NGO or any other organization, non-governmental or governmental, but I believe that the main reason that these declarations do not function is that we do not have adequate people in the positions of power. What it means that we have analyzed in the previous electoral process and this process as well, the candidates on the lists, and we get to know that there haven't had been never a wider spectrum of political parties and political candidates, and they just pop up from the various fields of work, and however, we never had fewer solutions to pressing problems. I believe that a wide spectrum of experts and non-experts, doctors and craftsmen, ordinary and extraordinary people get us in the situation that is very complex, and we are not able to get out of it. The question arises: how will people ignorant of political issues solve the problems faced by citizens, while some are renewing their mandate for the fifth time, placing the same promises traditionally. Others, meaning the capable and professional ones, have lost confidence in their own abilities and have not stood up to the first mentioned. So the message also, what I would say that what demotivates people in this participating in the electoral process is that let's say the way the messages are conveyed. The messages sent by political gatherings are focused on the past instead on the future, and the same slogans are repeated. What happened 30 years ago became more important than what we will have in the next 30. Again, the question about young people or other citizens that are able to get a job in their city, work and make money in their local community, just didn't find its answer to even in this year. So also the ideas are very very focused on populism. Let's say that even more a pre-slogan, let's say, is derived from the general slogan or the central slogan of the party, which is then linked to the specific community. I don't know, we have, for example, in Sarajevo, the slogan, da Sarajevo bude Dubai, meaning that that the political party wants Sarajevo to become Dubai. Even that we all know that it is impossible. It is just another political manipulation, so to say, to manipulate the the public and to just get the certain amount of votes in the elections. What I would also stress out as the problem in this process of demotivating people from voting is the political communication itself, because it doesn't differ significantly from party to party. They have one thing in common, and that is they are all trying to gain the trust of undecided voters, because the rest are already predestined and anyway, either by their place of work or I don't know, any family member relationship or something like that.
The percent of those voters which are not
well, I do not have a specific percentage, but around 20, I believe around 24 out of 80, out of 48 that go to the elections are those undecided, and they just wanted to, let's say, to motivate them to vote for the specific party and their program.
Thank you.
What would you say, Amasa, what would you recommend people who are going to vote in Bosnia or maybe in Germany, in Munich, for example, on October the 3rd, is the 2nd?
The second, yeah.
What would you recommend to have in mind, if they make the decision?
Well, I would recommend that they read all the political programs of each party, because this is the document where each party has the opportunity to propose their, let's say, ways to solve certain problems. So in the previous electoral period, when local elections were going, I've read political programs of each party participating in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and it really frustrated me in a way that I know the way they work in practice, and what they let's say just wrote in those programs. And when you compare the theoretical and the practical part, you get to know who are the ones that can bring a change, and on the other hand, who are the ones that are just manipulating you. And yeah, I would suggest that they vote for people and according to their professional background, as well as the program they propose, either than for a party itself and the program of the party.
Can I just interrupt with one interesting fact? For example, in the government of Republic of Srpska, there were 4 parties in this mandate, and only one party had a program, and it was a smaller party in that government. So SNSD, which is led by Milorad Dodik, they didn't have a program in 2018, they didn't have a program in 2014, and they don't have a program now. So if you want to see what are the promises of a leading political party in Republic of Srpska, they don't have a program. The same situation is also here here in Federation of Bosnia, you have some serious programs, but it's not the problem. In Bosnia, it's not a problem of political program. You can vote for one political program, but when it comes to constitute the government, you always have a government of some parties that are completely opposite. Now you have in government of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Council of Ministers, you have a party which are SNSD, HDZ, Croat Party, and SDA, Bosniak Party. SNSD has a completely opposite promises that they will not go to NATO, they will not allow NATO any kind of cooperation with NATO. They would like to expel the Office of High Representative from Bosnia, and they would like to expel the foreign judges from Court of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So they are completely opposite promises that they gave to their electoral in their electorals, let's say in entities, but they formed government. So in Bosnia, every government is always like formed with some. It is hard to provide only one program, and it never will come that one party will, won the election in Bosnia. And so is the art of compromise here in Bosnia, and it's come. So when we are voting, we are always voting against. We are not voting for. So that's the problem in this country also. But we have some new forces. When I come to elections, I always vote for people. What Almasa mentioned, I found the guys that I believe them, and I want to believe them, and I keep them because I'm in position. I can write if they are doing something wrong. I can do it publicly. But you are trying to just find exact people, but never in this country or as everywhere in politics, nothing gonna be perfect.
Yeah, I think okay. I will not now open the subject of Dayton Agreement, of I wanted to actually talk about more about the responsibility of international community, because I think OHR has a lot of responsibility there. I think it's on us also, like to think about societies which are almost everywhere multicultural and secular, that we should do something that to manage or to find a way how to make them responsible. But I would like, sorry, Adi, I would like maybe just to open a few questions from the public. We have some people here. Maybe somebody has a question. And I don't know how long we are already inside. An hour, so that we are not. I don't know. We could talk a lot, but of course, if you have, Adi, maybe if you have something to say on this, what Dalio and Dalmasa talk about, or we talk about, and then we will give one or two questions from public, and then we can close up.
I was inspired by the two of them, and that is that, often, especially outsiders, think that in Bosnia and Herzegovina, all the politicians are the same and that the elections do not change much, which is, if you look into more details, is actually not the case. Many of the key and crucial races are very often very close. If we talk about the Republika Srpska entity, for example, where candidates for president of Republika Srpska are on one side Milorad Dodik, whose party has been in the lead since 2006 and being the governing party, and who has, just this week met with Vladimir Putin and has been saying also a lot of things that Dali already explained, against the NATO, against the EU, and against the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Just last year, they've adopted a plan on how to collapse institutional and constitutional architecture of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in that plan, which the party and then the National Assembly of Republika Srpska adopted, they say that, once they start implementing it, if someone's against it, they're going to use the force to implement it, the police and the force of the institution. So it's a very dangerous, very concrete, and supported by dark forces of Europe today, like Russia. And on the other hand, you have a candidate born in 1982 who's actually against that plan together with the opposition parties, and who doesn't want to implement it, who is not necessarily close to Russia, but and who has clearly against it. And they're both running for the position that in the past 2 cycles was decided by 7,000 or 30,000 out of 700,000 votes. So in fact, while many say, you know, the races they already know, things are already known, in fact, these races are, you know, very often very close, and the difference between politicians running for them are very big when it comes to the future of the country. And why the position which Milorad Dodik and his opposition are running for is important is because the president of Republika Srpska can award a mandate for forming the government to anyone he or she wants. There is no need for you to have, you know, a certain number of signatures or anything else. And that then in turn enables that person to collect the necessary majority, not just through convincing with the program, but also through corruption and some other means. Dalio's colleagues from other organizations back in 2014 have, you know, come up with audio signal where the president of the person who got the mandate was, you know, offering money return for votes in the national.
We are losing you, Adi. You're barely in internet, I think.
Basically, there are races, very often they're close and there's much at stake at them, despite what.
Okay, so I think the Berlin says 1 hour of debate is enough on internet. So I don't know, if somebody has a question or something we can talk about, discuss about, we can also, yeah, please.
There are just around 70 to 80,000 registrations from the diaspora for the votes. Are they disappointed in the diaspora? Or what they expect?
So there is okay, because we don't have a mic there, so I will say it again. I don't know if you hear it. I think it's like what is a disappointment, or how it's feel to know that from diaspora, which is quite big. I think there is almost 50% of all Bosnia also in diaspora. So it means like around 2 million people. There is only 78,000 which are now registered. What is your feeling about it?
Well, I can just say briefly that I think that people left the country because they didn't want to live in this political system, and they are not interested anymore in this. But I noticed that the people who are, let's say, longer in diaspora living, they are more interested than people who just left the country, because we have, like, in the last 5 years, like almost 500,000 people that left the country, and we don't have an exact number. We only have predictions, and it's a very, very huge number, and it put us on the first place in Europe in a brain drain if we compete with somebody. So I think that people who are like longer, who are left in 92 during the war, they are more interested in this country than people who left last 5 years, because those people left because of the political situation. I had many friends who left not because of the job, not because of the money, not because of the social situation. They just left because of the political situation.
Perspective. Someone, yeah.
Well, maybe I can jump. I think it's linked to the image and the discussions on the elections and on the governance inside the Bosnia and Herzegovina to a great extent. I think, you know, if the story that the diaspora gets about the political situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina, everyone is the same and that the elections are, you know, not close, then they will not be energized to, you know, to apply and to then send their votes. You know, if they knew how close the presidency race between Bećirević and Džaferović last time was, or how close between Dodik and Mladen Ivanić was, maybe that, you know, if that was being discussed and explained, maybe then they would see their vote being worth. I have to just remind everyone that yes, the number of registered voters is not significantly higher overall compared to 2018, but if you look on at the entity level, you will see that the registrations from Republika Srpska, of diaspora from Republika Srpska, is somewhat higher. And I think it's linked to the fact that through different initiatives, it was explained how many votes were needed to get 1 or 2 members of the parliament who are non-Serbs or belong to the parties that are non-Serb parties would mean. And I think that's what got people interested in applying to vote from.
I have one more question here. Almasa, do you want to answer something on this subject?
Well, Adi just summed it up so briefly that I do not have anything especially to add. Instead, that the votes from diaspora, from people that are not, how do we say, koji se nisu prijavili za izbore. Yeah, who did not register for these elections, opens up the space to the political manipulation and for some political parties to get the votes, let's say, from those who are not present at the moment in the country.
We had one more question.
Yeah, my question was, how it's not possible, or you are all from NGOs, how to change the system of the voting in diaspora? Because Dario is right. More people may be like, I'm voting all the time. I even voted once locally in Bosnia, but mostly I vote with a letter of vote, and I have to register, and I'm registering sometimes family members to vote. And the question is how to change, or why are you not able or someone to change the system? Because we are the only country, I think, the country, at least in the region, where it's necessary to register if you live in Munich. Usually when my mother is Croatian and she goes just to embassy and votes. There's no need for registration if you have your documents. So why we need to register anyway? That's the problem.
Okay, I don't know how much you heard.
I think we heard, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Please. So
well,
why there is no more enthusiasm also from Bosnia to change this kind of voting procedures also for diaspora, or to actually to understand that?
Yes. Well, I'll explain on the example of Croatia, maybe, because for Croatia, in their elections, you have a list for diaspora that, is the same for anyone voting in Mostar or voting in Munich or voting somewhere in Australia. It's the same list of candidates. While in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because of the war, because of the 1991 census, and because of many other reasons that are related to the post-war, in fact, on the list, on the voters list, is everyone who has an ID issued in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So that means that I vote via post, but in order for me to, I register to vote in Gračanica, where my registration as living in Bosnia and Herzegovina is. To change that would go into the question whether, all the Bosnian non-Serbs from Republika Srpska would then need to have their IDs, which are which are issued for diaspora, and which would then vote for the list in diaspora. It would kick them out of Republika Srpska voters lists, and that is something that there is no political will to do, or for those that have that political will, the others for different reasons do not. So, for example, if I would go here in the embassy without registering to vote on 2nd of October, they would have to have on their laga the voting ballot for Gračanica, and that's, almost impossible to know how many of, will come from Tešanj, how many will come from Srebrenica, and each of these cities, because of how the voting is organized, has different voting lists. Simply, there is no, separate for diaspora. Making a separate one for diaspora would mean that everyone who left because of the war from 1992 to 1995 would then no longer be considered as, living or being registered in their pre-war municipalities. And that's a politically very emotional and difficult.
And maybe second reason is because all those changes need because we need to change election law, and all changes of election law in this country are very, very complicated. If you want to change technically election law in this country, some political party will ask for some political changes of that law. So it is very hard to unpack that law in a parliament here in this country, because discussion will be very hard and it at least for years. So I think it is also the technical problem of why this is happening actually.
Yeah, and there is probably Annex 7, which is not implemented, and something which is yeah, to think about by changing this kind of law. Okay, thank you very much. I would I don't know. There is some questions, or I think no. So just one thing what I would like to say, like it's like where we talk about like we need a year to discuss about something, and I think there is a need for NGOs and also in diaspora and also in Bosnia, maybe to start really talking about new people agreement, and really to start to inform us about what is one democratic state, how we can build it together, and how we can really come together and talk about these subjects, and maybe make this agreement of a people which we I think need to solve a lot of problems which we are now talking about. I don't know, what do you think about this? And is there in your organizations and in your life something that we can maybe work together on it, and to be like active? And one more thing I want to say for everybody also here, I found this app you made, like the Glasometer, also something which helps to inform, to see what people or what the programs are. So to use it and to check to whom you will give your vote on 2nd October. And I voted already.
Thank you for that promotion of this application. Yeah, well, in my organization, we are trying to do as much as we can to educate the general public here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also to advocate for some open government things, for some, we are communicating every day with majors of municipalities, with MPs in the parliament. We're trying to do something, and there are some people who are actually worth it to be there, but there are some people who are not. So vote smart.
I just wanted to mention that we really need to connect to make a strong network for brainstorming the ideas for solving the problems that we are facing with, and that these elections are very important, that we have to motivate people to go to vote, to let's say opt for the people they believe in, and that whether there will be radical changes or just an additional strengthening of the nationalist narratives from which we have been suffering for years, and because of which there are fewer and fewer of us in this country every day, depends on all citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina, no matter they are now in Bosnia or somewhere in diaspora, and also it really matters to go to the elections, and maybe it's the final moment that some new people can come, the ones who, unlike all the previous ones, will bring a touch of freshness, so to say, and innovation to the deadness of the current political life, and that we have a positive impact on the life of a little man in exactly 8 days, yeah, we will have the opportunity to select some new generations of young people and young politicians. And I believe that it is the last chance for a serious turn, not necessarily for some kind of a revolution, but definitely for a struggle, for a struggle in which new rules of conduct will be established and responsibility will be turned to, first of all, political, but also political engagement in general.
Maybe from my side, since I'm sitting in Berlin, to just say that it's not just about who's elected in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also who is elected in Germany. And we have seen with the last elections for German Bundestag how just a couple of new voices that are either originally from Bosnia and Herzegovina or are under influence of can make a difference. I want to say that the resolution we had, that all the instruments that Germany has, in particular with everything, Germany is going to be much more important for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in that sense, also we who live in Germany, through our voting, through work with our politicians, can influence a lot. And I think in the next couple of weeks or months, you will see, CSU and CDU, who are very, CSU is very strong in Bayern, becoming, much more vocal on the Balkans and on, in particular, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think those are the things that we need to follow, and where we can then also from the other side, with our second head, have an impact on what's happening in Bosnia.
Yes, and we have to use it now. Now it will be elections in Bayern. So thank you very much. I want just to say one more thing, and then maybe you can also end the discussion. So to all of you and to all of you, we make on 21st, 22nd here in Munich, we make one. Greening the Balkans is the new name for our regular event we do, and we invite a lot of activists from Albania, from Serbia, from Bosnia to come in Munich, and we make a networking, talk about the problems of ecology and climate justice, and we will anyway stay in contact with you, give you all the information we have together, and I hope we will in any way work together. We already did with some of you, and thank you very much that you find the time for us.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Kind regards.
Bye bye to Dalio and
bye everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao.